Hey guys, welcome back to the Falco. Today we're going to be talking about the result from yesterday's North London derby. It's obviously still pretty raw, only a day apart from the game, but I'm going to try to look at it as objectively as possible. That may or may not happen as I start to get frustrated talking through it, but unfortunately not the result we wanted, but worse than that, not the performance we wanted, and that's really the key thing and the key takeaway for me. Obviously a lot of the fan base are really frustrated at the minute, and I can totally understand that. We all are, but what's concerning, and what I've put out there on Twitter as well, is that Tottenham seemingly find new ways to disappoint us with every passing North London derby, with the exception of the away performance last year at the Emirates. This year, the home game, another defeat, another L in the column, and that's indelible. Tottenham, that's another one. Guys, that's your legacy at this football club. That's the third consecutive defeat, and that won't go anywhere. That will sit there forever. We could go on and win the league this year, win all the trophies, a historic quadruple, but for as long as people are keeping records, that L is going to be there in the column. You got beaten by your biggest rivals at your own place, and that's so painful for us, and way more painful for us than it is for the players. I'm sure the players are hurting. I'm sure the players are not happy, and they're not all sitting there counting their money, as some people like to suggest. They're hurting as well, but they're probably not hurting as bad as us, and that's the kind of thing that, you know, the pros, very few pros, particularly ones who weren't fans coming through the system, would understand. So different ways to look at it. We could take it chronologically, we could take it player by player. I think looking at the start of the game, both teams looked quite nervous. There was a good energy in the stadium. Obviously where I sit, there's tends to be a good energy, but both teams looked a bit nervy on the ball, a bit nervy. Both teams wanted to play out from the back. Both teams then variously wanted to press that, and I thought on both sides of the ball for the first kind of 5-7 minutes, there were slightly tense and nervous passes, and therefore there were opportunities for both teams. We probably could have had the better of it from that perspective. I think it was Sonny getting a nick on the ball, going through to Solanke from one press, and I think a confident Solanke and a fully fit Solanke probably takes that off that second touch. He decided to go for another touch. Excellent recovery defence, gets in there, doesn't get megged or doesn't get the ball cut back on him by Saliba, and wins the ball. So for me, first touch to control, second touch is whipping it far post, or trying to reverse it back towards the near post, trying to catch Raya, depending on where. I think Raya was quite far over to his near post because of them trying to play out from the back. So yeah, whip it second post. Hopefully we'll see that. We need Solanke to get on the score sheet fairly soon. We also looked ropey at the back. We were trying to play out from the back. Arsenal did a really good job of identifying when to go and how to press and how to box the midfield in, so that there weren't those options to bounce it off a dropping midfielder to then spin it out to either a centre-half or to a full-back. It was an excellent performance from that perspective defensively by Arsenal. And when the ball was getting knocked across the 6-yard line or being played out to Mickey van der Ven, he didn't look comfortable at all. What that then did from Arsenal's perspective is they went from a one-man press across the two centre-halves, tirelessly running between the two centre-halves and the goalkeeper. They were confident enough to push up and then send two men into that press. And by the end of the first half, we absolutely did not want that ball. We didn't want to move that ball, and we couldn't get out. And we were just, or I personally was just hoping for the half-time whistle so the manager could get into the players about being a bit braver. And that brings me to the major point of the disappointment in this game, is I felt we lost this game on bravery, on personality, on taking responsibility. There were some players did okay, but as a team, and then in very, very key positions, the positions where you need to take responsibility for the football. I don't feel we did that, and therefore we didn't create enough high quality chances. There's a lot of talk about how much possession we have and how wonderful that is, and we're not creating high percentage chances again. And today for me that was all down to a lack of character. So the players who should have been coming in, getting on the ball, wanting to play, getting in tight spaces and demanding to have that ball played in and then doing something with it. It's all very well, just blithely going in there but giving it away every time. Not only have you got to want it, you've got to go in there and you've got to do the business as well. I don't feel we did that. I don't feel our midfield three particularly did that. I think Decky is the one player who I will exempt from criticism. I thought he was excellent throughout the game. He did everything he could. He was physical as he always is. The ball did stick. He did try at a wonderful shot in the second half, which from where I was sitting looked like it was heading top corner and then just whizzed over and wide. Really, really good hit. A laces hit. Nice to see from Decky, where he usually bends it with his instep. So I thought he was excellent all game, and he deserves all credit for that. Maddison, a lot of criticism of him. I think some of it's a bit over the top, because if you see what he did do when he got on the ball was actually quite good. If you think back to the beginning of the game, he took responsibility, ball from Son to the left-hand edge of the box, and then he loops a nice ball that Solanke turns into a very good ball by being strong. And I think he holds off Gabriel to win a looping header that could have dropped in. Great strength from Solanke, really good to see that. And Maddison putting a ball up there, having the awareness to get turned in the box and play it. That was good. There were a few others as well, a few other deliveries that were quite good. He was getting involved, and the things he did do when he was on the ball were fairly good. My only issue with Maddison was he didn't get on the ball enough. He didn't pop up into those pockets in central areas. He's dropping deep to get the ball, which we see a lot. He's coming out to the left-hand side quite a lot to get the ball, and I don't mind either of those things. Some people don't like to see it. I don't mind either of those things. But what it needs to be is it needs to be instrumental to the next phase. So if he's dropping deep, it's because he's then doing something that our centre-halves are not capable of doing. For example, Romero is not capable of doing. And I'm not seeing that when he drops in there. And by the same token, if it's difficult for us to get out and our centre-halves are just knocking it around with Vicario and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, those midfielders need to get in and they need to be demanding the ball, getting into little pockets of space and then being really, really comfortable getting it. Even getting it back to goal and securing it, or being on the half turn, or getting yourself in a really good position where you allow the passer to have a clear lane to get that ball through to you, pop it through to you. We've got the quality of player to do it. Porro particularly has got it. Romero can do it off the right hand side. So I've got no issues with that, and Vicario can play a straight ball as well off his left foot. Lolo, I love you, bro, but you really, really didn't perform yesterday. I think you completely flew under the radar until I haven't seen a great deal of chat about you, but for me, you were anonymous. You did not come in and demand that ball. You did you were neat and tidy at times, when you did receive it, but you almost weren't adding anything to the game by being there. And that was the major disappointment for me, because I absolutely feel you can drop in. You've got the quality to receive that ball and do the things we needed you to do, which was to get into that box defence that Arsenal set up in the middle. And at times they were committing 4, 5 and 6 players into that box defence, which is really brave. We, with fast wingers, I feel can flip that ball over the top if we can get our ball players, if we can get Romero, Bentancur and Maddison on the ball, even Porro on the ball in that kind of lower middle third. We can spin that ball in there if we're willing to play it. You might need a change of personnel. You may need a willing runner like Timo Werner, but we could do it. Didn't do it. Didn't secure possession. And I felt that was the story of the game. Not being brave enough, the inordinate amount of time that added to Arsenal's time wasting. Very deliberate tactic. Take the sting out of the game. Don't let us get any flow. That's good coaching from Arteta. His team played it really well, played right on that line of delaying it, getting the crowd upset, but not letting us get in any rhythm. That's as it should be. That's them doing everything they need to do, coming to us without a full strength side. And we did not deal with that well. We did not get the ball in play and started moving about. The amount of time that Romero was receiving the ball, or we'd get a free kick deep, and we're just standing there. He's just standing with his studs on the ball, looking for someone to give it to. And we didn't even bother just starting to move it right, left, just to see if anything opens up. He's literally standing there, and then really tepid kind of movements around from other players that the Arsenal players, who were really committed and really well drilled, found easy to close up. They closed up passing lanes along the floor. They easily got into man marking positions, and they were able to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And with no out ball over the top or into those wide channels, there was no threat. They weren't being turned around, so there was no point that they were feeling under any pressure from that. There was one break I remember in the second half, possibly Van de Ven charging through midfield, where he played a massive sweeping ball. I'm not convinced he meant it, but it got all the way out to the left wing to Son, and that was a chance for us. And again, it just showed how much space there were and how easy it was if you were braver, and if any of our midfielders could have come in and got on the football. They did not do that. That was so disappointing. Then we have to look at the most disappointing thing, the winning goal for the opposition. Yes, there's a lot of talk about set pieces and how we're not good at defending set pieces. From where I sit, which is in the south stand looking directly down at it, I can't really see the blocking runs clearly, and I couldn't see what happened between Romero and Gabriel. But what I could see is, and I had my eyes on, was Vicario. And I was absolutely fuming with Vicario because I saw him pushing and engaging with players far too late. And there was no need to. This time, because the protection's been offered this season, he did not have Ben White running around him and then backing into him like he did last season. He did not need to engage. He needs to be having one mega shove on his own player into the defensive player before the delivery of the ball, so he can then use that to retreat to the spot that he needs to be, to then look for the delivery coming in. He gets his timing wrong. As I've said, I don't like his footwork. And he's not brave enough. He's not brave enough. He's so engaged in pushing and heading towards his near post that by the time the header is coming in, which is a long time in terms of set piece defending, it's a long time into the phase of play, he is still engaged with pushing and shoving players, and he's almost knees bent on his way down as the header comes in, and he's got no chance of stopping it, because it comes, if he stands completely stock still, it hits him flat in the face. It hits him flat in the face. It breaks his nose, but it doesn't go in. Yeah, so for me, he gets that completely wrong. I was fuming with Vicario, but what I hadn't seen is the phase with Kuti. And again, Kuti, love you to bits. You had a fantastic game, brilliant slide tackles. There was one down by the corner flag in the second half where I was begging you not to go sliding in, but you did, and you won it absolutely cleanly. You didn't chop the player in half. It was a fantastic tackle that we were able not only to win the ball but come away with possession. Incredible stuff. Dishing out justice to Urian Timber after his challenge on Pedro Porro, where you flew into a slide tackle on him and took out your own player at the same time. We love that kind of stuff, but you were once again partly at fault for one of the goals. That's weak defending. You're facing the wrong way. You didn't have eyes on. And I watched you in the first half defending set pieces. I watched you get called over by the ref for not looking at the ball and for defending Gabriel and for having hands on him, and it was perfect and it was spot on, and we did what we needed to do. And then in the second half, that one particular example, which annoyingly, to roll it back to the way we defended it with the two, with Son and Udogie, again I felt Son let Saka go to the line slightly too easily. He should have committed with Udogie swapping to cover the other player on the Arsenal's right hand side, which led to a corner, because obviously when you get yourself in that slightly behind position, the only touch you're going to get is going to go towards our own byline. So it was going to be a corner, whereas I'd like you to defend front up, Udogie inside, put Saka on his right foot, work really hard to cut him off from going. Put Saka on his left foot, but you've got two players, and then any touch you get or any defending you get goes out towards the sideline or goes up the pitch. Anyway, you concede a set piece, you're going to concede set piece, you're going to concede corners. Romero facing the wrong way, looking only at the ball. There's a little bump by Gabriel. If it gets called a free kick, you're very lucky. If it doesn't, I don't think we've got a major complaint. Didn't defend it well enough. Gabriel wants that ball. There's no block. There's no strength in trying to stop him from getting to where he needs to get to. And so Romero lets him get in too easy. And Bukayo, he's just not there. He's not in the position he should be, ready and set. And I don't just mean standing ready to make a save. Where he actually heads that ball, and when you look at the space that there actually is in that little zone, Bukayo should be walking through that and effectively claiming it. If he wants to punch it, which I'm sure he would, fine, as long as it goes 30 yards outside the box, but he should be claiming that. So Cuti's got to do better. He's got to stop that runner from coming in so there's not even a header, or if he is coming in, he's late, he's delayed, and it makes it that much easier for Bukayo to come and get that ball, to come and punch that ball. So disappointing. Romero has been incredible across all these games, but he is making mistakes that are leading to goals. And it's really frustrating. And then we made some changes. A lot of talk about Johnson being ineffective. He was okay early on in the first half. He did okay. He had a couple of chances. He had a rifle on his right foot, ball played across the box, and he rifled it just over. Wasn't too bad, but again hit the target from there. And he had one where he took his player on, came inside, but didn't catch up on his left foot. Again, need to improve. It was okay. I know he's a bit of a lightning rod for Tottenham fans at the minute. That's no matter what people say, that's not going to change. But yeah, he didn't affect the game positively enough. And we made changes. We brought on Odebear, we brought on Sarr in the midfield, and we brought on Timo Werner. Sarr, and this is one of my notes for him for the season, Sarr needs to be better at holding onto the football. He cannot concede possession as easily as he does. And one of the first things he did is he came on, he conceded possession, but to his credit, and this is his athleticism, he got back in and he won the ball back. For me, effectively, Sarr could easily be converted into a beast of a number 6 if they ever decide to work on that with him. But yeah, he was okay, but again, he's not the player that's going to unlock it. He's not going to get in there, get on the ball and make things happen. Timo did okay. I thought actually he had the beating of his man down the left-hand side. He had a disappointing cross where he did get to the byline, crossed it with his left foot straight into Raya's hands. There was no one there. I felt he could have actually cut inwards so that he was ready to either, again, pull it back, across, or loft one. You've got 3 key options there. Didn't do it, but actually he did okay, but again, not enough to affect the game, not enough quality. And Odebear, bit inconsistent, gave the ball away a few times. Again, it almost felt like the crowd were hanging their hat on him doing something special, a step over and a smash into the top corner. He's a young player, and that's a lot of responsibility to put on his shoulders. So, yeah, no criticism in those terms, but there was no end product yesterday in that game. And then lastly, the players we didn't see. Disappointed not to see Berryval. I just think that the midfield weren't brave enough, and he might just be young enough and crazy enough to go in there and want that football. I would have loved to see him potentially going into that midfield and seeing if he could make a difference. But the coaching staff decided against that, and then we didn't see Gray, obviously, in that number 6. Gray might have been an option instead of Sarr, especially if you want to change it up a little bit. And again, I just think that lacking in bravery and character is not what I expected from an Ange Postecoglou team. The whole point is we play this, swashbuckling football because we've got brave players that are willing to do things that other teams won't expect, and that's how you get success. Either the players aren't bought into it, or the coaching staff have not managed to get these messages across to the players. It's extremely disappointing. It's obviously the North London derby, so it hurts that much more. And now we put ourselves in a position, just from a points total, how far behind we already are, and we're only 4 games into the season. We're already putting ourselves under loads and loads of pressure, and it ramps up on us. We've got to go to Highbury or Emirates. We've got to win, not just get a result, not just get away with a draw. We've got to go there and win now. It's got to be points shared across the season if you want to achieve anything in the league. And again, we're putting ourselves under increasing amounts of pressure to do stuff by not getting positive results. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Long video, 20 minutes already. Huge disappointment. Not a great deal to speak of positively, apart from some early pressure, some nice interplay early on, and a chance for Decky, which was nice, but it was all too rare. It was one of the very, very few examples of us doing it. So we got another game midweek, Coventry coming up. I don't have strong feelings right now in terms of what team he puts out, whether he plays a load of players that haven't got minutes, but I want to see a performance. I want us to go up there, and I want us to absolutely blow Coventry off the park to kind of get back on track. Because at the minute, the longer it takes us to get back on track, the more I think this is going to affect us psychologically going into the season. I think we're really struggling at the minute. We're hoping for something to click, but I'm not sure we know what that is, and that's not a good place to be. So let's go to Coventry, let's get a positive result, and let's take things from there. Thanks everyone. It's going to be a tough week, but we go again. See you soon.